Do you know that only one school in the entire world has been awarded a British battle honour? Can you guess which school it is? No, it's not Eton or Harrow.
You inky little horror.
It's in India, and today I'm paying it a short visit. Stick with me to learn how this fantastically quirky school was founded by a Frenchman in the service of the East India Company, has the grave of a well-known and controversial British officer within its grounds, and how the boys and their teachers fought like lions during the siege of Lucknow in 1857. Look at this building, stunning, isn't it? This is Martinière College in Lucknow, India. The school was founded by this chap, Major General Claude Martin, or Martin. I'm going to call him Martin. At 16, this fellow had left home and joined the French army, fighting against the British in India. In 1761, after the French were defeated by the British, of course, he saw the writing on the wall and signed up to serve with the Honourable East India Company's army. There followed rapid advancement. He ended up in the city of Lucknow, now the capital of the state of Uttar Pradesh. It was here he worked for the local Nawab or king and had his fingers in many pies. He designed buildings. He managed the state arsenal. He opened a bank and of course became insanely rich. Oh, and he performed what was probably the world's first ever bladder operation on himself. He inserted a waxed wire up his own urethra to break up bladder stones. That's gotta hurt. Anyway, to cut a long story short, when he died, he left a large proportion of his tremendous wealth to create 3 schools. One in Lucknow, one in Calcutta, and one back home in France. Martin designed the building here in Lucknow himself, but it wasn't finished until well after his death. One contemporary, though, haughtily described the architecture as follows: part Enlightenment mansion, part Nawabi fantasy, and part Gothic colonial barracks, with the loopholes and turrets of a medieval castle, while above, Palladian arcades rise up to Mughal cupolas. Probably says a lot about my taste that I bloody love it and I think it looks great. I wish I could have gone to school there instead of this place. Oh, bit of a factory that. This gun here has a rich history. There's a slab on the floor in front of it that says, "This gun was cast by Major General Claude Martin in 1786. and dedicated to Charles Earl Cornwallis, whom he served as aide-de-camp. Cast in the Lucknow arsenal, of which Martin was the director, it was used in the final assault in the Third Anglo-Mysore War 1792 during the siege of Seringapatam. Just inside the building, down this set of stairs, is the crypt where Martin is buried. It's said that he had his body interred here to stop the Nawab from taking his land after his death, i.e. he knew that a Muslim wouldn't want the land and the building if a Christian was buried there. That's clever. Anyway, there was a lot of legal drama after Claude's death, but in 1845 the school here finally opened. Then, in 1857, the Indian Mutiny, or what's known in India as the First War of Independence, kicked off. I have an entire series of films on that conflict. If you need more background, do check out the channel. But to sum up briefly, the Bengal regiments of the East India Company's army mutinied against their officers, killing them and their families. The city of Lucknow was at the heart of that rebellion, and all the Europeans in the area were forced to take shelter in this building, the residency compound in town. With them were those boys and the teachers of Martinière College. From that moment on, they were no longer simply schoolboys. The oldest of them were issued Brown Bess muskets, the rest were set to work helping the garrison. One of the boys, Edward Henry Hilton, has left us this account. Sir Henry Lawrence allotted to us for our quarters the house of the native banker Bihari Lal, which was situated at the extreme south of the entrenchment, forming one of the outposts in that quarter. It was, throughout the siege, much exposed to the enemy's fire. By the end of the siege, this house had been so battered as to become almost untenable. I need hardly say it was quite inadequate to our requirements. We continued our school studies in the entrenchment till the day of the Battle of Chinhat, after which the boys and masters were compelled to give their attention to other duties. Yeah, I suspect fighting a very brutal war probably would get in the way of your studies. The school's headmaster was a rather impressive man called George Schilling. He and the boys took responsibility for defending this part of the residency. It became known as La Martinière Post and was only about 20 yards from the nearest sepoy positions. A very dangerous spot. Obviously, they exchanged regular fire with the sepoys. Here's Hilton again. Meantime, in my own post, the cannonade had worked its worst. Almost all the pillars had either been knocked down or injured, so that the position became almost untenable after a short time. Cannonballs and bullets passed through every door and window and every aperture through rooms and into recesses hitherto unknown, destroying everything in their course. No place was sacred or secure. All were alike exposed and searched out by the fire which the enemy brought to bear on us. Hard to imagine now, isn't it? A group of brave students and teachers fighting for their life against a brave and determined enemy. Tough lads. By the way, guys, I just want to interrupt really quickly to ask, what do you think to this t-shirt? If you're half the man I think you are, then I know you're going to love it. Well, I've just designed a few different t-shirts and sweaters, etc. that really reflect our shared interest in British military history. I'll be adding more designs over the next few weeks, so check out the links below or scan the QR codes that are currently on the screen. Every sale means an extra £2 or so for me to keep the channel and the podcast running. Okay guys, sorry for the interruption, let's get back to the film. Anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down in the details in the accounts, but suffice it to say they proved themselves again and again. On one occasion, the Indian rebel troops even blew up a mine under the building, inflicting severe damage, but luckily for the boys, very few casualties. And yet amazingly, throughout the siege, the death toll was surprisingly light for the boys. 2 of them did die of sickness, but only 2 were actually wounded in action. In November, the siege was finally raised as Campbell's relief column fought its way through. I've got a whole film about that if you're interested. The column then extracted the survivors and they fought their way back out, the boys with them all the way. In recognition of their outstanding service throughout the siege, the boys and the teachers were awarded the Indian Mutiny Medal with the Defence of Lucknow clasp. So inside the school, just before you walk into the main chapel, there's actually a stone, a roll of honour for those boys and staff involved in the defence of the residency here in 1857. So there's a small museum inside the grounds of the school, and there the events of 1857 are well and truly commemorated. The city of Lucknow was only eventually retaken by the British for good in 1858. One of the army's most famous soldiers, now a little bit controversial, was killed during that battle in 1858. So I hadn't realised that William Hodson's grave is here in the grounds of La Martinière. Now for those who don't know, Hodson was the man who founded Hodson's Horse, a very famous cavalry regiment. He was a brave and intrepid leader of light cavalry, but he did rather controversially kill 3 Mughal princes in cold blood after capturing them at Delhi. Even by the standards of the time, that was a little bit frowned upon. When I was there, the grounds looked magnificent and the history is clearly being well preserved. Oh, and one last thing, that battle honour we mentioned at the beginning. Yeah, you thought I'd forgot about that, didn't you? Well, in 1938, the school was given the right to bear a British Army regimental-style colour or flag. On it are the words, the Defence of Lucknow, 1857. That is an incredible and unique honour. La Martinière College, I salute you.